So I apologize for the way that I look. I look a little crazy. Um, it's been quite a morning. Um, this is my first YouTube video. I have no subscribers. That's fine, honestly. I'm surprised I have any friends in real life. I wouldn't be surprised if I have none on the internet. Really, I've been thinking about doing something like this for a while, and I just never have because it's just been so busy. I've been so stressed. I have been so crazy and running all over, and it's just too hard. Um, I am a mom of a special needs child who is the craziest little thing in the world. That's putting it nicely. Um, when I was pregnant, she had cysts in her brain. They were called chyroid plexus cysts. We were told that they wouldn't do anything, that unless she had Down syndrome, there'd be no reason to worry. She was born, she didn't have Downs, and so the doctor said, dodged a bullet, you're fine. From the day she was born, the moment I gave birth, I could see that something was wrong. I could tell her I was lazy, I could tell she wasn't looking at me. Yeah, newborns can't see, 3 inches in front of their face? Sure. But this was different. It took a long time. It took me fighting really hard to be heard. Because everybody just kept telling me, she's fine. She's fine. That's what babies do. They don't track. Not all babies can see well. Her growth is fine. We're not worried. And I said, I'm worried. She had cysts on her brain in utero. There's no way that this can't have some kind of lasting effect. Well, come to find out, at a year old, the doctor finally agreed she was not tracking right. She could see what I was worried about. So she said, let's see ophthalmology. They sent us to Cooperstown to an amazing doctor. She's absolutely lovely. Melody adores her. She very clearly looked right in her right eye and said, nope, she's got optic nerve hypoplasia. Set us up for a sedated MRI at just under a year old in Albany, because they were the closest hospital that would do an infant, sedated, to confirm ONH and see if there was any brain malformations, because generally if you have ONH, something else is usually wrong too. It's a spectrum, but there's a lot to it. So we went to the MRI, and it was traumatizing, straight up. The nurse didn't listen to me. She didn't read Melody's chart, and she decided to cover her face and try to gas her to make her go under sedation, which made her have a panic attack because she couldn't see and she's blind. So that was stressful. That whole thing was just a mess. Couple weeks later, we find out that, yep, it is optic nerve hypoplasia. She also has septo-optic dysplasia. She has a small pineal cyst, and she is lacking her septum pellucidum. Originally, everybody was worried about the optic nerve, her blindness. Can she see? What can she see? What is her field of vision? What is her range? Let's get her into a specialist. I started doing research. I saw that children with this condition need to see endocrinology. They need to see therapists. They need to be in all sorts of things, because there's a lot of stuff that can go wrong. Now, the reason for this is because the optic nerve connects to the pituitary gland, and that is the main gland in your body to tell your body what hormones to produce so that it can function. When you have a small optic nerve or no optic nerve or something wrong with it, that tends to disrupt the way that it works. Now, thankfully for Melody, she hasn't had any endocrinology issues that we have seen in the last 3 years. She doesn't have any growth issues. She doesn't have diabetes insipidus, thankfully. It's taken her a while to potty train, but overall on that end, she's fine. Now, she is blind in her right eye, completely. She may be a little bit of light perception, but her last appointment with her neurologist, we were able to see that 0, zilch out of her right eye. Her left eye, however, sees perfect 20/20, which is better than my vision with glasses. So she's very lucky. She does get help by an association in New York that is called CABV. It's the Central Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired. She sees somebody once or twice a month in mobility to help her with her surroundings, her outside area, making sure that she's aware that this is what she sees. So if you're trying to think of how my 3-year-old sees the world, close your right eye. Look around. That's what she sees every day, day in and day out. So we have people who work with her to make sure that she's fully turning, to check around her, check her safety, crossing the street, things like that. She has no sense over danger at all. And part of that also has to do with the piece that she's missing, the septum pellucidum. Everybody's been so concerned with her eyes, so concerned with her vision, so concerned with the blindness aspect of this condition that they kept ignoring my concerns and my worries about her self-harm, her aggression, her mood swings, her just, oh my God, I can't even describe it. A lot of kids with ONH are thrown on the autism spectrum. Now, I can say that yes, my daughter does have autistic tendencies, but I also do know that a lot of the time it's not autism. It is her condition. It is the ONH SOD. It is the septum pellucidum not being there that is causing these issues. But to get the proper therapy that she needs and the help that we need as a family to deal with this, she has been put on the spectrum so that she can get what's called applied behavior analysis therapy. She has 4 therapists that work with her, and they are a godsend. They're amazing. She is now potty trained. She is a little bit better at listening. She's still really defiant. She's still really aggressive. But she's been getting better at using her words, because the septum pellucidum is the portion of the brain, it's a midline piece of the brain, and it sits as a buffer between the 2 hemispheres. Now, for a long time, people thought it didn't do anything. I don't know why you would think that. Clearly, everything in the human body is there for a reason. We may have grown out of needing it, like the appendix. We may not need it anymore, like a tailbone. But we still have a reason for it. New studies have come out, and I've done a lot of research through the Los Angeles Children's Hospital because they have an ONH program, which, God, I wish I lived out west and not in New York. That the septum pellucidum is the portion of the brain that deals with emotion and emotional responses. It's the piece of the brain that says fight or flight, that says, you're okay, just be a little mad, or, oh my God, this is the end of the world, you need to run, go, 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 go. What this means for my daughter is that I have to convince her to eat because she's lacking the piece of the brain that tells you when you are full or when you are hungry. So I have to remind her to eat because she will starve to death. She would rather have water and milk and not eat at all. Blindness, textures, not the best. This also means for my daughter that she's explosive and violent. And it's not her fault. And that's the part that I have a hard time dealing with because I have that peace and I understand situations so I can calm down and I can say, okay, that's not what they meant. And relax. She can't do that. So everything is 0 to 100. It's literally, she chewed a piece of ice and it hit wrong or hurt somehow. And it's end of the world screaming at the top of her lungs, like the dog bit her or the cat bit her or she got her hand stuck in a door or I seriously think something's wrong because it's something silly. But to her, she does not know how to calm down. She does not know how to stop. This makes for a really stressful life of parenting. I mean, I guess you could say. And it's hard because, as far as I know, my daughter is the only child in Herkimer County with this condition. The entire county Her doctors had never seen this. They'd read about it briefly in med school, and then that's it. I had to fight with her primary care for a year that, yes, she is autistic or something. Something is wrong. Please help me with my child. Because they kept saying, no, she's fine. No, she's fine. Instead of just researching what her condition is, what it can mean, all of the factors in it, they just sit there on that pedestal that I'm a doctor. I know. Don't worry. Kids with this condition can die. That's a thing. If her endocrinologist, thankfully she's never had an issue. She doesn't need growth hormone. She doesn't need anything daily. But she still has a standing order for cortisol. Now what that is your fight or flight response. So because she has an underdeveloped nerve and underdeveloped things in her brain, this could mean that if she is in a position where fight or flight needs to be activated to save her life, it might not work. And I'm a part of a Facebook group that is absolutely amazing. And I have to say, Melody is lucky. She is not nearly as bad as a lot of these kids. A lot of these kids have such a hard time. And I can't say better things about their parents for being able to do what they do for them. But my daughter still has a standing order for cortisol because kids with ONH and SOD, when they get into a panic and they get upset and they can't calm down because they physically cannot calm down, they can die. They can go into shock and die because they're over scared or they're overworked up or they're overly upset and they don't know how to filter it. Their whole body floods with hormones. Or the opposite. Nothing happens. And they have no hormone response. They have nothing. And then their body goes into shock. And it's terrifying. And it's my daughter just last night throwing a fit. Didn't want to go to bed. She's overly tired. She's being mean and rotten. She's being violent. She's hitting. She's swinging. She's coming at me. And I finally said, enough. You have to go to bed. I can't do it anymore. And she screamed herself to sleep. But not before she worked herself up so hard that she throws up. Because she can't calm down. And at that point, I'm too upset. I'm no help to her. I can't get her to calm down either. It's just hard. And I don't know. I feel like maybe I should have started vlogging or blogging or something when I was pregnant. You know, learning along the way. But I gotta say, if you ever see a mom or a dad out in public with a child in the middle of a meltdown, you be nice and kind and respectful, and you walk up to that family and you ask in the sweetest voice possible, what can I do to help you? Is there anything I can do? Because honest to God, we don't need your fucking judgments. We don't need your side eyes. We don't need your dirty glares. We don't need your judgmental bullshit over something that you have no fucking clue about. You have no idea what it's like to have a child with a disability that nobody knows about. I literally have to explain to every single person she meets, except for the specialists that I have found in Syracuse, who have no clue what this is. I say what it is and they look at me like I'm making shit up. Like I'm just trying to find a reason to say my kid is different. I literally could show you the MRI. I have it. I have a copy of it. That my daughter doesn't have a right optic nerve and that she's missing a portion of her brain and that she has a cyst on her brain. But yeah, I get treated like I'm just some shit parent because my kid is screaming and throwing a hissy fit over some bullshit and I can't get her to calm down. So before you sit there and look at a parent who is clearly at the end of their rope, just keep it to yourself unless you're going to help. Because I can guarantee you, most of us don't even like to leave the house. I don't. I can't stand having to go anywhere with her. It's painful. It's impossible. And it is like World War III every time. From the getting her dressed, to getting her shoes on, to getting her coat on, to getting out the door, to getting in the car, getting buckled up. She hates to be buckled up. She hates to be confined. She hates to be restrained. She's got a high back booster. She's little. She can't see shit. Hates the whole experience. Not to mention the fact that I live someplace where not a single fucking person knows anything about her condition. So I have to drive an hour every time she has an appointment. Now, I don't know about you, but having a screaming, raging, blind, autistic, ADHD child in the back of your seat for an hour? Not cool. Not fun. Not a good experience. We don't do anything as a family like normal people do. You know, going to the museum, going to Billy Bees, going to the mall, going to this place, this park, that park. I can't go. My kid can't stand the sound. She can't stand the light. She can't stand if it's too dark. She doesn't like crowds. She doesn't like people. Everything scares the poor girl. It's just, I don't know. This is basically just me ranting and raging about how difficult it is to have a disabled child because honestly, it's fucking hard. And I would never change it for a million reasons. I had the option to abort when I was pregnant. They told me what was going on. They showed me the ultrasounds. They sent me all the literature and I went to a specialist and I went to a genealogist and I went and they wanted to do amnio and I said no. Because to me, I am given what I can handle. Maybe more than I can handle, let's be honest. But that's my daughter. That's my baby. And I am not giving her away for the world. But what I would like is for more people to have compassion and understanding for what we as families go through. Just to try and provide our children with a semblance of a regular life. She doesn't get that she's different. She doesn't get that she's got all these issues. She knows she has a sleeping eye. But at the end of the day, she's a 3-year-old who just wants to be a 3-year-old. And I admit, I get pretty jealous watching all these people with their perfect children going out and doing this and doing that and having fun. And you know, not having to worry about, you know, anything that could happen. Like, I can't just go to the playground and let her run because she can't see. She has no depth perception. I have to follow her the entire time. There's only so much independence that she can have because she's 3. She's blind. She's autistic. Brain malformation. She doesn't understand danger. She doesn't understand safety. She doesn't get it. So I'm like always hyper vigilant. Like right on the edge of my seat. Gotta know what's going on, who's doing what, where is she, what is she doing, is she okay? And add to that I am back in school, senior in college, about to graduate, working part-time. Around her, all around her. Everything I do is scheduled around her therapy, her school, her appointments, everything. And I have issues. I'm sick. I'm not perfectly healthy. I'm not some super mom that doesn't have any issues. I've had throat cancer as a teen. I've had cervical cancer after I had my kids. I have I've recurring Barrett's esophagus. I've got really bad acid reflux, which caused all that. I have cysts and polyps and lesions in my throat. I have a hiatal hernia, meaning I can't really eat a lot because it just hurts. I have a heart condition called Wolff-Parkinson-White syndrome. Pretty rare. I don't use my natural pacemaker. My heart just kind of does whatever the fuck it wants, whenever the fuck it wants, which is real cute. And recently, my most recent, it's been just over a year now since I found out, is I have kidney disease. Great. Cool. Something called medullary cystic kidney disease. It's genetic. Nothing you can do about it. It's not because I was a drinker or anything like that, which, yeah, I used to drink. Like, let's be honest, everybody gets drunk. But I was never that bad. Well, I have medullary sponge kidney as well. So what that means is instead of having kidneys that look like kidneys, they look like a kitchen sponge or a sea sponge. They're not smooth muscle like they're supposed to be. They're just all pocketed, which means I hoard stuff like protein, calcium, like all that crap that your kidneys are supposed to filter just gets stuck in these little pockets. And then on top of that, in the middle of your kidneys, the medullary, I have cysts. Just tons of cysts. The last time I went in for an ultrasound, I didn't have any stones. I've never had a stone. I've never in my life passed a kidney stone. This is just like amazing to my urologist. I have pissed out glass shards. It looks like glass shards and it feels like glass shards and it is not cool. But my last ultrasound showed that I have hematuria. Constant hematuria. It's shown up in every urinalysis I've had in the last year. Blood in my pee. Every single time. Couldn't figure out why. Well, my ultrasound showed, basically, I have so much crud and so much sediment and so much stuff, and because it's all that uric acid-y kind of stuff that's like sharp. Like, I have a diesel car, so I know what it looks like. When you spill your DEF fluid, and it gets on the edge, and then it dries, and it crystallizes. That's what happens. Those crystals. Basically, my kidneys are full of sediment, full of crud, full of crystals. And it can't get out because of the cysts and because of the way my kidneys are made. So it's just sloshing around, moving around in there. So my kidneys are constantly bleeding. Constantly. Doesn't stop. They are just always bleeding. Every breath I take, every move, everything causes them to bleed because there's so much shit in there that it's cutting it like glass. It's like having a bag, like a meat bag, full of shards of glass, and you just shake it up. Miss my kidneys. And because of that, I have a urinary tract infectious disease. I didn't even know that was a thing. But I've been on antibiotics for over a year. I have had a UTI every single day for the last year. Probably longer, let's be honest, because my doctor just fucking told me it was nothing and told me to see a shrink for 3 years. 3 years. My doctor told me to see a fucking psychiatrist just to come out and come find out I have a could be terminal kidney disease that always, 100% ends in transplant. And it's in both kidneys, not one. So, that's why I went back to school. That's why I work. That's why I do what I gotta do. And I just pick myself up and keep going. Because I'm already in debt. Couple grand. And just trying to find out this medical bullshit. Now I know for a fact that I will need 2 transplants. And then drugs for the rest of my life to keep those transplants. So I went back to school. Because Lord knows I don't know enough people who like me to do a GoFundMe and get any fucking money. So I am doing, I don't know if it's responsible or not. I don't know. I am choosing to take on student debt so that I can get a better job, so that I can save my money, so that hopefully, when the time comes for my transplant, I won't go bankrupt. Because this is America, and we don't have health insurance because that's not a right. You should just be allowed to die. So yeah, this is my first video that I've decided to put on YouTube. I'm a hot mess. It's a whole lot of bullshit. And it's not even all the bullshit in my life. Like, let's be real. My life is fucking crazy. But really, I'm just having a hard time. By a lot of qualifications, I'm a disabled mom. But I can't be because I have a disabled child who needs me more. So, 2 things to take away from this. Don't judge a child in a meltdown. Ask how you can help. And 2, be thankful for your health because you have no idea how important it is.